Yeah, so good morning, guys. Yesterday we started on alkaloids and we went through the various slides of alkaloids. I'll just recap on where we'd left. We just finished some of the classifications of alkaloids. So as a summary, it said that alkaloids they vary in different like they have different classes, but one of the defining factor across all the classes of alkaloids is that they contain a nitrogen in their ring. So it's based on their nucleus. Oh, and also another thing, since it has a nitrogen in the ring, they are also, most of them are basic, the alkaloids. So the basicity varies from where this nitrogen atom attaches to the ring. So when you say that from the primary, it has primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary um, nitrogen. So as you go down, like from primary to quaternary, the basicity decreases. That's another thing that we saw in the properties, and then we saw that some contain oxygen, but some do not contain oxygen. So examples of the alkalis that do not have oxygen in them, we said that you have choline and nicotine. That those are the exceptions, and also we had other exceptions that when you go through the slides, you'll see them. So based on, according to their basic or the nucleus chemical structure from which they're derived, they are classified, and they have several classifications. So we have a pyridine and piperidine. So we have an example, we have been given arecholine, lobeline, choline, and nicotine. So the other classification, so this is just a recap so that we just continue from where we left. So we have tropane alkaloids, which is a bit common. So here under this class, we have cocaine and hyoscyamine. So we also have example of tropane alkaloids here. We have atropine, hyoscine, hyoscyamine. Um, yeah, so at least get these tropane alkaloids because it's a common thing. These are common sources of drugs. So for tropane alkaloids, it said we have there are two examples here. We have cocaine, hyoscyamine, and then you have atropine, hyoscine, and also, as I stated, hyoscyamine. So another classification is we have the quinoline alkaloids, which we have an example of the cinchona alkaloids, which they have the quinine that is used in malaria. We have quinidine that is used in correction of arrhythmias, and then you have this syncochin, and then you have the synconidine. You have the synconine and synconidine. And then from, I think we'll just start from isoquinoline alkaloids, that we have hydrastine, we have the tubo tuberculine, and it said that earlier in the slide yesterday, it said that most of these alkaloids, they they appear in isomers. So we have the D and the L, and the L is one that usually exerts more pharmacological activity compared to the D. But we saw an exception such as this compound, the tuberculine, which the D isomer is one that is more pharmacologically active compared to the L. So we have also emitin and some of the opium alkaloids. So at least seeing that these alkaloids they're very common. So please kindly just at least mshike tu zingine. So we started with pyridine and piperidine. We've given as an example, arecholine, lobeline, choline, and nicotine. And then we went to another classification here down. Tropane alkaloids, it said that it has cocaine, atropine, hyoscine, hyoscyamine, and then also quinolone alkaloids, where we derive the cinchona alkaloids, we have the quinine, quinidine, cinchonine, and the cinchonidine. Isoquinoline, we said that we have the hydrastin, the tubocurarine, and then emetin, and some of the opium alkaloids. So then we go to the indole alkaloids that we get them from claviceps pipera, that is tulasin. So agate alkaloids. So another thing that we talked about agate alkaloids is say that most of these alkaloids, they do not occur in the low family species, with an exception of agate alkaloid. Agate alkaloid is a low family species, and this is an exception in that alkaloids, they do not occur in low family species. But now we are seeing that agate alkaloids also they have alkaloids. The agate species, they have alkaloids. So example of this that you'll find, we have agotamine, agocristin, agoconine, agometrin, which they are oxytoxic. So we have agonovin, LSD, and these agonovin and LSD are psychotomimetic. So ukipiga hii unaweza ona hallucinations zako mbaya sana. Also have strychnine. So another classification, we have imidazole alkaloids like pilocarpine. Pilocarpine is very common. Sawa, pilocarpine. Then purine bases, we have caffeine and theobromine. So msiconfuse tropane alkaloids zenye iko na cocaine with these phenanthrene alkaloids zenye iko na morphine na codeine, because maybe the other pharmacological classification, they're in the same opioids. So remember, tropane alkaloids, you have cocaine, and then the phenanthrene alkaloids, you have morphine and codeine. They may not be they may be in the same class of pharmacological class of drugs, but in different classification of alkaloids. Tropane alkaloids, cocaine, and then we have morphine and codeine as phenanthrene alkaloids. Sawa. And then we have steroidal alkaloids, we have solanine. Yeah. So maybe just a recap of all the classes in mbio. Tulianza na nini? Tulianza na pyridine and piperidine. Examples, tukapeana arecolin, lobilin, conine, and nicotine. Class 1. Then went to tropane. Tropane tukasema kuna cocaine, atropine, and hyoscyalamine and hyoscine. So then we went to quinolone alkaloids, tukapeana example ya the cinchona alkaloids, tukasema ni quinine, quinidine, cinchonine, and cinchonidine. And then isoquinoline alkaloids, tukasema hydrastin, the tubocurarine, emetin, and some of the opium alkaloids. And then indole alkaloids, tukasema ni alkaloids such as agotamine, agometrin, and the likes. Imidazole, it's pilocarpine, purine, caffeine, and theobromine. And then phenanthrene alkaloids, we have morphine and codeine. Steroidal alkaloids, we have solanine. So these other slides that we have been taken through yesterday. So I'll just go to what we are supposed to cover today. I assume we'll start from so part 3, we start with isoquinoline alkaloids, and these are alkaloids that have this structure in them, the isoquinoline structure, and then they occur in several families. So this is the structure of the isoquinoline structure, and then we had given an example of isoquinoline such as emitin. Yeah. So the most important drugs and the alkaloids in this group are of this is the plant, and then it's the compound that you get the alkaloid. So we have this emitin, and as I said yesterday, this is very common. This thing, this plant with this in the board exam. So we have emitin that is derived from ipecacuana, and then we have hydrazine from uh, hydrastis, and then we have tubocurarine, which is we said that the D isomer is the one that has pharmacological activity compared to the L from this plant, Sanguinaria curare, and then opium from morphine and codeine, and then we have berberine 4 that we obtained from berberis. So maybe I'll just give you 1 minute to get this in your own. So as a reminder, you're saying that we're doing isoquinoline alkaloids, and then it's saying that isoquinoline alkaloids, they have the isoquinoline structure in them. And then these are the examples of the drugs and the sources that they come from. As a repetition, I'm saying again, we have emitin that we derive from ipecacuana, and then we have hydrastin that we obtain from hydrastis, and then tubocurarine that we obtain from sanguinaria curare, and then morphine and codeine from opium. And also I said that since morphine and codeine, they're in the same class as maybe cocaine as opioids, we should appreciate that the different class of alkaloids. So for cocaine, we say that the tropane alkaloids, and then for morphine and codeine, then the isoquinoline alkaloids. So we have berberine 4 from berberis. So we have ipecacuana. So we said this, we get what emitin from it. This you don't need to know more of this. So the alkaloids, the prominent one is emitin, but we also we can get cephalin and psychotrine. So the Brazilian species of the ipecacuana usually contains 2% of the alkyl coating, in which it is distributed in the 2/3 of it becomes the emitin and a third becomes cephalin. But the most important thing that to remember in isoquinoline alkaloids, just know that emitin, you can get the emitin alkaloid from this plant, ipecacuana. Yeah. This is the rhizome. And also, where to get this, it's the rhizome, where this alkaloid is obtained from the plant. The rhizome. So the uses of this emitin or ipecacuana. So in form of a syrup, it's an emetic. So it's used as an emetic and expectorant. And also in the treatment of amoebic dysentery. So emitin hydrochloride is an anti-amoebic. When given as an injection, so let's say majorly it's used in the treatment of amoebic dysentery, either in in an injection form, oral form, yeah. So emetic inhalants are more expectorant and less emetic action compared to cephalin. So it's more of an expectorant compared to the emesis action. So we go to the next isoquinoline alkaloid. So we said that hydrazine, we obtain hydrazine from this plant, hydrastis. So, and then we obtain it from dried rhizomes and roots, as well as like the one that we've just covered before. Yeah. So apart from hydrazine, we also have berberine and the canadine, but the one that is imported from this plant is the hydrazine. So it is used in nutrient hemorrhage, and also I think it's an abortifacient. So let me just confirm. Let me just confirm with you. I'll get back to it. I'd say it's somewhere that it's an abortifacient, but I'll confirm. So we have another class. We have the opium, or gum of opium. Is the air dried milky extract obtained from these plants. So we have the capsules. So this is obtained from the unripe capsules of Pepeva somniferum or Pepeva album. Yeah. So the first two tuliona ni from rhizomes. So the first two tuliongea ni hydrazine na emetin. Tuliona ni the rhizomes, but for this you obtain it from unripe capsules. So you know that it's an opioid, so it has strict regulations. So we have the licit and illicit trade of opium. They have been given examples where the legal trade that takes place. We have the China and all that under strict regulation. And then illicit, it's illicit in Thailand, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. So yeah, so we have in relative large number of countries, morphine is derived from poppy straw by cutting or dried. Yeah, so so this is just a way of getting this opium. So it's just a plant that shows the opium. So where you get the opium. So this is the unripe fruit that I was talking about. So the uses of opium, it acts on the central the CNS. So it firstly it stimulates, and then after some time it represses the nervous system. So the first action is it's stimulation of the CNS, and then after some time it depresses the CNS. So it's in that in the hospitals, it's used as an analgesic that is given people with terminal cases, such as example of cancer. It's both hypnotic and narcotic when used wrongly. So it's also used to check the excessive peristalsis and contract the pupil of the eye. So pinpoint pupil. So it's used in, let's say, in diagnostics to manage this, to check the excessive peristalsis. And then we have morphine is the most important, the most important compound in these opium alkaloids. So this is just a property that has both a phenolic and alcoholic hydroxyl group, and it is a photeric. So since morphine, you've said that it's one of the most important compound in this class of opium alkaloids. Both morphine and its salts are classified as narcotic analgesics. You know that the DDA. And then you have talked about they are very hypnotic and narcotic. So these are the side effects that you know that the side effects. One of the side effects of opioids, they cause a lot of constipation. Can you also remember that the side effects of these opioids? So apart from constipation, they may induce NV, nausea and vomiting. Yeah. And also it can be habit forming. So this may lead to addiction. So codeine, so it said that opioid alkaloids, they have morphine and codeine. This class. So for codeine, it's widely used opioid alkaloids, and also you get it from this opium or prepared from morphine. So you can either extract it direct from the opium, ama you can prepare it from morphine. So codeine and its salts are narcotic analgesics and antitussives, but we've seen when it's in the cough syrups, it's used as an antitussive, but can also be act as a narcotic analgesic. So it has so it's used as sedatives, especially in coughs, yeah, in cough syrups. But compared to the toxicity, it's less toxic compared to morphine. So even the dependence, when you compare the dependence also, it's a bit less. So children are not given a diet form because they are easily constipated. So if you just generally opioids, they cause a lot of constipation, but for this now you're saying codeine, the children are not given. So this is another form of morphine. We have ethyl morphine, and that has an ethyl group on the phenol. So it has a similar action to codeine, but usually it is less toxic and produces no constipation at all. So for children, you give them ethyl morphine because it does not have constipation. So you acetyl, you add an acetyl group to the morphine for you to have ethyl morphine. Yeah, so that's yeah. So you're saying that heroin has similar, but it is more pronounced action, has a more pronounced action than morphine. So it is due to its potency and the danger from habitual. So because it is more potent, the tendency of it to lead to addiction is high. So it was discontinued in medicine because the manufacturing aspect of it was illegal, or it was forbidden. So yeah, I think that acetation is not that complicated. So that is for ethyl morphine. So under the opioid classes we've covered ethyl morphine. We started we finished with ethyl morphine, codeine, morphine. Yeah, just a recap of that. So we started with isoquinoline alkaloids, say that they have this structure in them, and then we given examples that we have ipecacuana, which we get emmetin, and emmetin, say that it has emetic and expectorant properties, but mostly can be used in amoebic dysentery. And then we go to hydrastin, that we have we obtain it from hydrastis, but it's used in uterine hemorrhage. And then you've just covered opium, that we covered different compounds that took from opium. So that would be morphine, we did codeine, and ethyl. Yeah, we have morphine here. These are the uses, and then we did codeine, then we have ethyl morphine. So now we are going to use papaverine. So it occurs naturally in the opium plant. So we have it as papaverine HCl, which is a smooth muscle relaxant. So tyrosine is the starting material. We have the gum opium. So these are gum opium. We have gum opium milky, which is a milk exudate. So obtained from incision. So once you cut these unripe, no, the ripe capsule of Peper somnifolium, you'll have this exudate, which is the milk exudate that is air dried to obtain by So opium, poppy, the plant source. So we have these alkaloids that we obtain from this opium poppy. So you have the morphine, codeine, the noscapine, papaverine, pherbine, and meconic acid. I'll give you 1 minute to look at that, the 6 compounds. So we continue. We have another type of alkaloid here that you obtain from sanguinaria, which is the alkaloids that we obtain are here, the four of them. So we have this one that we've seen in the example of that we covered. So we have sanguinarin, and then we have keretrin, and then we have protopain and allocryptopin. So from these plants, I just know that we have this, the most common, sanguinarin, and sanguinarin causes tetanus and excitement. So none of these that use, that tetanus is a toxin, so we can't use it in medicine. And then we have another alkaloids, the curare, that the curare plant. Then we obtain the D-tubocurare, which is the alkaloid that you obtain from it. So apart from the rest, we've seen that the opiums, we obtain them from the fruit. And then the other two that we covered, we have obtained them from the rhizome, and then this from the bark, the curare. So there are different types of curare. We have the calabash curare that is in Gads, in Guyana, Venezuela, Colombia, and then the commercial is the strychnose species. So another type of curare, we have the tube curare in bamboo, that is in many spermaceous plants that originate from Brazil and Peru. And then we have the bamboo curare, the sport curare, So I think any given sample will contain or will have alkaloids and the quaternary compounds, but the very specific composition of the same varies with the source and the identity of the plant. So that's a straightforward statement that says that any of these will contain alkaloids, but now the composition, they vary according to the source. So now maybe you'll find just an example. You have that the one you get from calabash curare may be different to tube curare, the composition, but we just know that they are alkaloids. So the most important of the alkaloids is tuberculare, a substrate from the curare plant, and it has a paralyzing effect on the voluntary muscles. It has toxicity on the blood vessels, as well as it has a histamine-like effect. So tuberculare, it has a histamine-like effect. So tuberculare HCl, it's a muscle relaxant that is used to secure the muscle relaxation in operations. So it is used to control structural poisoning and tetanus. That we'd seen in this type of alkaloids here, from here, sanguinary. So when you have used maybe these sanguinary alkaloids, you'll use tuberculare to counter that, because you've seen that's one of the uses. Yeah. So yeah, that's not important. So it can be also adjunct to shock therapy in neuropsychiatry and diagnostic aid in MG myasthenia gravis. Yeah, so these are just a summary of the isoquinoline structure, isoquinoline alkaloids. We started with the IPEPAC, the source. It's ipecacuana, that we have emetin, that we've seen that it has various uses. One of them can be used, emetin can be used as an emetic, just from the word emetin, and can be used also in amoebic dysentery. So hydrastis, we have the most common one here is the hydrasin that can be used in uterine hemorrhage, and then sanguinaria. We have the compound sanguinarin that can be used. It's not used medical because it uses excitement, and also can can lead, like let's say, to tetanus. And then you have curare. We have the tubercularin, and then tubercularin that we say that it can use to mitigate these, the effect of this, and it has also histamine like effect. And then the opium, we have the morphine, codeine, and thebaine that usually are used as narcotic analgesic. So I'll give you 1 minute to just look at this table to as a summary of the isoquinoline alkaloids. I bet you have you have you have appreciated that aspect, so we can continue. So we go to the next classification of alkaloids. We have the indole alkaloids. As the word suggests, we have the indole ring in it. The important alkaloids from these we have strychnine and brucine. Strychnine and brucine, let me just so we have strychnine and brucine from Nux vomica, and then we have physostigmine from this plant, physostigma. So strychnine and brucine also contain quinoline nucleus and can be studied as quinoline ring. So apart from having an indole ring, they also have a quinoline nucleus in them. So we have racepine from Raufolia, and then we have the vinblastine and vincristin. This one I know you all know from vinca alkaloids. We have agotamine, agometrine from agot. So these are the plants, and then the indole alkaloids that we have. So from the plant Raufolia, we have the racepine, resinamide, the sapidine, and then you have the caranthus, the roseus, that's the vinca alkaloids. You have the vinblastine, vincristin, and then the Nux vomica, we have strychnine and brucine. So half a minute for you to digest those three plants with the three with their sources. Yeah. So we are talking about indole alkaloids. Indole alkaloids, they have an indole ring in them. I've seen that some of the plants also, apart from indole alkaloids, it also has a quinoline ring. So we've been given example. This brucine and strychnine, that they also have a quinolone nucleus in them. We have Catharanthus roseus, we have the vinblastine, vincristin, and then we have Raufolia, this is the plant that gives rise to racepine, racinamide, and sapidine. But let me see if we can add here. Yeah, we also have physostigmine from physostigma. Comata the continuing here. So physostigma that you get physostigmine, and then I got what we've seen also that has isoquinoline ring. They have agotamine and agonovine. So agot alkaloids, agoline, we have the common name as bad eye. So these alkaloids, you get them from claviceps species. The agot of dry is a dried sclerotium from a fungus. So this is the fungus, claviceps pupera, that arise from the ovary of the rye. So agot of rye is dried of sclerotium of fungus, claviceps pupera, that arises from the ovary of the rye. So agot alkaloids are present and obtained from a commercial scale from both parasitic and saprophytic sources. So this is the agot of rye. What's agot of rye? So it's in that it has two sources. We have the parasitic and saprophytic source. So for the parasitic source, we have the dried sclerotium, which we get from this fungus, claviceps papera, developed on a rye plant. And then you have this For the saprophytic sources, usually fermentation, broth in which the mycelium of the selected strain, the Claviceps paspali, has been grown saprophytically in the submerged culture. So parasitic source, Claviceps papera, and the saprophytic source, you have the class paspali. So the LSP usually produced during fermentation culture, which is the saprophytic. We don't need to know that more of botany. So the ergot produces large number of alkaloids, the most important alkaloid being agonovine, which is a agometrin species. And then agometrin is water insoluble. And then you can also have a mixture of agocitrin and agocryptin. Yeah, so these are example of ergot alkaloids in the class of indole. So the vitamin is water insoluble. And then what I think here. So the ones that agotamine is water insoluble, agotamine is water insoluble, and then agometrin is water soluble alkaloids. I'll have to confirm this slide that I'm getting it. So that's the structure of agotamine. You just need to know the example of agotamines. So we have these agometrin malate or agonovin malate, that they're usually oxytoxic. That's why Dr. Nelly kept on mentioning that you always find them in maternity wards. They quicken the delivery. So they also used to reduce postpartum hemorrhage because they have a vasoconstrictor action. So agonovin malate and agometrin, just know that they're oxytoxic, and they are also used to reduce postpartum hemorrhage. But the vasoconstrictor effect is usually less in agotoxin or agotamine. And then you have the agotamine tartrate that is used in as analgesic, that is used in to treat or manage migraine. So agometrin, remember agometrin malates or agonovin malates, that they are used as oxytoxic and also used to reduce postpartum hemorrhage. So we've seen the test for alkaloids. So since they are alkaloids, so they'll give just a positive test for the reagents. So it's in a color test. So these are the color tests. Sorry?
Umesema ergotamine inatumika kufanya nini?
Right. E. Ulikuwa umesema agometin ama agotamine?
Gotam.
Or agotamine, no, it's more specific in managing migraine. But hizo unajua like most maybe unaweza jua most agot derivatives alkaloids unaweza dhani zote zinatumika in the management kwa management of sawa. Yeah. So there are many tests. So unaweza piga hizi test and then to hiyo the reminder which ni kidogo kuna mwingine atatake jioni. So test ni kila test yenye the solution of the alkaloid inaekwa kwa glacial acetic acid and concentrated sulfuric acid and a trace of ferric chloride. So ukiwa na presence of alkaloids ina give a blue fluorescence. So for killer test, these are color tests of alkaloids. And then you have the glyoxylic acid reagent. So nilisema jana most of them zinatumia sulfuric acid, so inapeana blue color, the presence of agot alkaloids. Sawa, killer test. Then you have the glyoxylic test, and then you have the Van Ack test that ina produce blue color, and then hii Van Ack test bado inatumika as a spraying agent in chromatography. Yeah. So I guess tutaanzia tu hapa in the evening. So someone else will take over from here.
Kazi safi Dr. Stongelites.
Thank you.
Okay.